The body unfreezes. All of those feelings, all of that numbness, all of the things that we were trying to prevent by becoming numb, suddenly we feel those again.
And we're coming out of this stupor, and we have all of this energy that was built up while we were in this stupor, and we lash out.
Yeah.
And it's instinctual.
Yeah, again. And that's where the anger, and that's why you see someone with Asperger's, it's very distant and this, and then very angry. And
it's very sudden and and seemingly without reason.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people with Asperger's, we get a lot of questions from parents of people with Asperger's on our page, on our email address, everywhere, asking, why is my kid so explosive? I didn't do anything. Where is this coming from? This explains that.
It's just at a certain point, they are out of freeze and they go into thaw. Yeah. So, what happens though is we start to feel all these things again. We feel sensations, meanings are turning back on. Even things like suddenly we can smell again and suddenly we can connect with people and all that's turning on. But since we are not used to that...
It scares the crap out of us.
Pretty much. It scares you so much that you freak out, you get overwhelmed, and you freeze again.
Yep. And then that's where the loop comes in. That's where it all connects. You're just going between one and the other without ever getting out. And you're imprisoned in this constant, flip-flop between numb and too much.
Which is why the safe place, which is next week, which is so important, because that's the time where you can let down all of your guards and feel those sensations knowing that they are not going to harm you and begin to process them out.
Because your safe place is your fortress against those, and it's where you can feel comfortable and safe.
Yeah, exactly. So, a big thing to note, though, is that when you start the getting out of defense mode process, you will go back into defense mode a lot. Mm-hmm. That's called titration, for any of you chemistry people out there. Same thing. You want to do it slowly because, again, we get overwhelmed by the sheer amount of stuff we feel. So once you learn how to modulate this, you come out of freeze 10%.
Yeah.
And you deal with that 10%. And then you go back into freeze for a while, and then you come back and you deal with another 5%.
And let me make something clear, it is completely normal to go in and out.
It is actually beneficial to go in and out, because if you go out entirely, you're going to get overwhelmed and go back into freeze, and you won't accomplish anything.
Danny and I are both in defense mode, infrequently, but it still happens. But we know how to deal with it now, and that's where we want to get you guys at, is we're not resisting the defense mode, we're using our tools to get ourselves out of it.
Yeah. Now, one thing that I actually like, and this is kind of a Jedi advanced strategy here, is when you're in that thaw and you have all that energy and you go, I don't know what to do with this, that is the time to exercise. Mm-hmm. That is the time to... I just go into work frenzy mode and just shut out the world and work for 5 hours.
Yeah.
That's the time to go on a run. That is the time to use the energy in some kind, because I have tried to resist the energy before and just sit around and watch Netflix, and that does not work, and that just gets you extremely anxious and overwhelmed and then freezing again.
Makes things worse.
It is the time to use the energy.
Exactly.
Anyway, so the last bit here is the discharge of that survival energy, the using of the energy. So all of that energy causes so much buildup, but we don't let it out. We try and resist it. Big key throughout this entire thing is stop resisting it, but do it in little amounts. So we don't let this energy out, so it gets stored usually as muscle tenseness. People that are holding their stress in their back, or you hold a lot of your stress in your stomach. Have you ever heard that? That's the energy. So the body knows how to get this energy out, but we do not let it happen because we don't trust it. So first, we need to create the safe place to stop the flow of the threats coming in. Then we did work on developing trust to realize that not everything is a threat.
Exactly.
Now, one more biological component to this, we're getting a little bit sciencey here,
but it's so important.
The vagus nerve. This is the thing that controls it all. I mean, the vagus nerve is, why do people with Asperger's have gut issues? Because the vagus nerve runs from your brainstem to your gut, and it is the thing that modulates fight or flight.
Yep, exactly.
So if you have a wounded vagus nerve or an injured vagus nerve, then everything in this whole entire cycle gets all screwed up. It's really interesting. You can take an EKG, look at someone's vagal tone, which is a part of the EKG diagram, and determine how social someone will be based on the strength of the vagus nerve.
Yep.
Because again, it's protect or connect.
Yeah, not both.
And if the vagus nerve is doing its job of suppressing the fight or flight system, then you can connect more and you have a better social outlet. So a large part of this is making that thing healthy. That means dealing with the gut issues.
Yeah.
Any sort of IBS or really any sort of gut things that are happening down there, you really want to work on resolving those through probiotics. I found that for me it was the overgrowth of candida. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, so please consult with one. But what happens is once the gut starts being healed, then you get this amazing thing called intuition.
Oh, yes.
Where you don't need to consciously think everything and you can just like start to trust yourself more, because that's where you can't really trust yourself without the intuition.
Yeah.
So
you're right.
You fix the gut issues, this gets a lot easier. That means getting rid of a lot of the sugar in diets usually.
Yeah. I've mostly cut out sugar from my diet. I don't drink a whole lot of fruit juice. I've cut soda out completely. And here's the thing is I feel 1,000 times better than I did beforehand. Everything seems to be more in alignment. I have more energy. My workouts now are more consistent and they're more powerful.
Yeah.
It literally changes everything.
Yeah. So if you want more information, look in the additional resources section in the class page, because we have some awesome books, Polyvagal Theory and In an Unspoken Voice in there, as well as the whole here's what Danny took and what he did, not saying that you should do it.
Right.
But there's a whole like here's what I did.
Yeah.
And
just for some type of reference.
Yeah. So anyway, that pretty much concludes week 1. That was a lot. Think about all this.
Yes, please.
Start to understand it. You'll probably be making ahas all over the place here.
Oh, yeah.
Next week, we start the actual getting out of defense mode process.
We fully expect, light bulbs to be appearing over people's heads right now. Because this is this is so enlightening and so powerful. And we're so glad that we're able to, give this information to you and that, you can understand it and get a lot out of it.
Yeah. So now that you kind of know what's going on, just start to really think about that and relate it to your own life rather than just some high scientific thing that we were discussing or our experience. Relate it to your experience and see if you can kind of integrate the two. And we will talk to you next week.
Thank you so much.